There's a lot of people moving to the area.
What does it need more of?
Come to market.
What is there demand for? Where are we starting off today? Oh, pickleball. Look at this.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm sure you see it all over the place. But essentially, this article is highlighting kind of the explosion that pickleball has experienced over the past couple of years. Within the last 3 years, there's been 158% growth in people playing pickleball. There was a reference here that I think they said 36 million Americans over the age of 6 are pickleball players. So obviously, I don't know how regularly they're playing. But again, if you play pickleball even once, I would imagine you're considered one.
What's funny is that I literally just, my fiance's huge into this, loves
sure.
it. And I played a few times this weekend, so I can't talk shit.
No. I mean, I hear it's a phenomenal game. You know, I've represented a couple of clients who have had a portfolio here in Louisville, and then I help them sell that portfolio, and then they go and move to Florida. And a couple of them are avid pickleball players. Like, they play literally every day. One of them picked a community because it had a pickleball court on site, and she goes and plays all the time. So it's, you know, I hear great things about it. But one of the unique things about these, you know, pickleball courts is that they're putting them pretty much everywhere. Like, you know, they're kind of filling in the vacant spaces that historically have been used for, you know, retail is kind of the prime example. This is one of the references that it talks about here, because, you know, imagine if you have one tennis court, that's roughly a tennis court per 30 players. But for one pickleball court, you can get roughly 250 pickleball players to use the court. I don't know what the time frame on that is, but again, it's quite significant, the increase of people that can actually play. And as a result, you know, you start turning some of these facilities, like they talked about some shuttered malls across the country that are now becoming massive pickleball facilities. And these memberships are not cheap. I mean, if you go to some of these indoor pickleball courts, it can range anywhere from, you know, 30 to 40 bucks all the way up to 100, 150, 200, depending on where you're located in the country. And so it can be a pretty lucrative opportunity for those individuals who are looking to capitalize. So again, just creative ways to be able to, you know, fill vacant spaces. If you're representing landlords that are looking for, you know, new tenants, or you yourself are looking at a building and, you know, it may be, you know, for whatever reason, it's a little hard to be able to place certain tenants there. Think about pickleball as an option, in particular, because there's some larger operators that the industry is somewhat not necessarily consolidating, but it's over time it will consolidate. So there will be these bigger players that start to evolve. And if you can build relationships with these individuals, maybe you can capitalize on having some of these pickleball concepts in your buildings. So
first time I ever heard about this was about a year ago. I've really been outside of this world. I mean, my fiance's played tennis and now she plays pickleball. I think actually one of the comments is saying serious tennis players hate pickleball. That's hilarious. But so anyways, I first heard this because there was a guy who I met in Malibu at a random party, friend of a friend thing, bunch of people. So one guy's like, "Oh yeah, we're looking to open a bunch of pickleball courts." I'm like, "What the heck is pickleball?" So I ended up looking into it, and now I'm not that I'm an avid player, but, you know, this last weekend I have a few friends, very successful people who are involved with this. So like, I got very competitive. It's a lot of fun, actually. I'm a huge fan of it. And it's actually interesting how I think like you had mentioned, the explosion of it, where like, it's pretty cool because it's a small court. You can actually double use tennis courts for it, where like, I think it's a great opportunity for, if you have vacant land and great locations, why not put up a couple courts and, make it useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's coming to markets across the country. Obviously, you know, in the Sun Belt, I'm sure there's a big boom of people who are looking to establish these types of concepts. But even relatively recently in my market, we've had concepts that have started coming into the market. One being a concept that had 4 or 5 indoor pickleball courts, and it also has like a bar and restaurant. So it's becoming
that's what he wanted to start it.
Like a Top Golf. It's like a Top Golf type concept for pickleball, which is a brilliant idea. And I'm sure it's going to be very successful as far as a concept's concerned. And, you know, again, this type of trend is going to evolve across the country.
I'm excited. I mean, as now a new pickleball player, I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm excited to play. I haven't actually played any pickleball yet. I played a little bit of tennis when I was younger, but, you know, again, a lot of racquetball when I was actually in
It's pretty big here in Florida, obviously.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because you can play it all the time.
Next up is South leads as U.S. posts biggest population growth since 2018.
Yeah, so I think this is just an interesting thing to be paying attention to, right? I mean, like, especially if you're in the multifamily sector, or really almost any sector for the most part, for commercial real estate, a lot of it has to do with population growth. Like, you want to be making sure that you're constantly focusing on the markets in which there is growth. Right? Like, because if there's massive population decline in your area, like, I think that, I don't know exactly what state the dead center states are, these 2 dead center states. Obviously, you see California is having a lot of negative. I mean, honestly, it's not going to be a huge fan, but what was the other one? You got New York. What's the other red ones? Illinois. Okay. So Illinois. And then obviously at the bottom, you have Louisiana.
But this is like, this is on a percentage basis. This is on a percentage basis too. So imagine 3% or 5% of the population.
Well,
In New
I
York
mean,
State.
it's a negative 0.5% decline. It's
Yeah.
a negative 0.5%, right? So it's not exactly drastic, but it's also like if you're going to prospect in an area, why would you not prospect in an area with heavy population increases? Like I'm in Jersey, which obviously Jersey is a little whack if you can try to find Jersey, and I'm curious to highlight over it real fast. So negative, it's a positive 0.3. So Jersey is actually one of the most transient states in the country. One of the most transient because everyone from New York moves to New Jersey. I just think it's fascinating. Like these are things that I feel like every single person should be paying attention to if you're in the commercial real estate world or heck, any real estate position realistically, because you should be investing in the states with growth, both in income and population. And same thing if in your local cities, right? Focus on the counties, focus on the cities with population growth, income growth. It's really going to allow you to see quote unquote the future of those areas, right? So this is something that I'm very, very in tune with and like to pay a lot of attention to. And I just wanted to at least post some content in regards to it because I think that it's something that a lot of people don't pay enough attention to. And I think it's been helpful for me to be on the up and up of what's going on with these certain submarkets where I'm able to make investments knowing that in the next few years, based on the past economic growth and population growth, I'm probably going to do okay.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see some of these numbers right here. I mean, just in the past year, 473,453 have moved to Texas, and then Florida, obviously is one of the big movers as well. So 365,000 and change have moved just in a single year. So that's pretty impressive growth. And, obviously that begets success, right? When you start having a lot of people relocating to an area, that necessitates more housing, that necessitates more retail, that necessitates a variety of different commercial real estate uses as well. So it's kind of to your point, follow population trends, follow demographic trends. Those are where the future opportunities are going to be.
You should know these numbers. Like this is something that it should not be foreign to you per se. Of your hyper local population growth, your hyper local household income, like you should know those numbers because when you're talking to investors, like think about it like this: if you're talking to an investor who's got $1 million, $2 million, and you're like, oh hey, where should I invest my money? Asset wise, geographic wise, why would you ever tell them to invest in a location that has low to none or negative population growth or low to negative income growth? Why would you do that? Because more likely than not, they're not going to do well in those areas. So just keeping that in mind, it's just something to pay attention to.
So next up is best bets for investing in commercial real estate in 2024. Now, this is a Canadian publication. However, just after reading the article, this type of information also, I believe, applies to the United States and really other countries around the world, just as kind of these more of a geocentric trends. So one of the things they talk about in this article is that some alternative investments such as data centers, retirement homes, student apartments, and laboratory space, medical laboratory, could be very big investment categories come 2024. Additionally, they talk a little bit about the office market and how it's kind of getting to the point where it's almost at its bottom. There may be another 12 to 24 months of decline, but at a certain point, it will reach a equilibrium point. And I think that is when these types of opportunities become a lot more attractive from an investment standpoint. And so they talked about, price gap and bid gap, creating a opportunity for people to be able to capitalize on some of these properties that do come to market come 2024. Along with that, they talked a little bit about an industrial strength. Obviously the big box industrial has been kind of the darling of the institutional investors for a long period of time. But as we've talked about many times on this podcast, that there's really not a whole lot of small bay industrial developments happening. And that's where this gentleman sees a lot of opportunity in 2024. I know personally, it's very hard to find small to mid-size industrial facilities that house a variety of different contracting businesses in particular. And so even in situations where I start working with a client who's looking for, let's say, 5,000 square foot of industrial space, that it's very compressed, the market is. So if we do find something, typically you're having to kind of put your best foot forward as far as lease rates concerned. So landlords are still kind of in the driver's seat with that property type. And then finally, it talks a little bit about, locations, kind of what we touched on before. There's certain markets that are prosperous in that there's populations moving. There's a lot of people moving to the area. Therefore, you can capitalize on some of these opportunities. Employers are starting to move there. So then there's, retail opportunity. There's an office opportunity. There's potential industrial opportunity as well. And so finding those areas where, populations are moving to is obviously of benefit. And then also understanding, the nuances of certain markets, because in an example here, it talks about Calgary being a good multifamily market with an influx of immigrants and people coming from other parts of Canada. So although Calgary is definitely not as big as a Toronto, or it's not as big as some of these Vancouver, for example, it could still be a pretty lucrative market if, in fact, you decide you want to target multifamily opportunities in the area, for example. So just because the market itself may not be a booming market, there still could be subsects within that you can benefit from. So
I 100% agree. And I think that what's interesting is that not enough people are paying attention to at least that last piece, which is like, what does this local market or the X market that you're targeting need? Like, what does it need more of? What does it have a lot of? What does it not have a lot of? What is there demand for? What is there not demand for? Right. And being able to see like how many transactions actually occurred in the last the last 12 months, or the last 6 months, last 90 days, how much transactions occurred in each asset class. Like, what is in high demand? What are a lot of people buying? What's the average price per square foot? What's the average price per unit? What's the average rental rates going for leases? What's the demand on that? Like, is there a lot of lease opportunity in certain markets? Like, think about it like this. I've been doing a lot of homework recently saying, like, if I had to choose one freaking location in any state, I'm looking in New Jersey, I'm looking in Florida. These are the two markets I primarily focus on. If I had to focus on one area based specifically on demand trends, population trends, price per square foot trends, on all these different trends that are occurring, not based off of what's easy for Henry or what my buyers want, but where the greatest opportunity for value add deals are, where would I go? And then guess what? You get to think from a different lens of saying, like, hey, like, I'm going to be a financial analyst and go through all this data. Like, I've been very focused on looking through a lot of data recently and really looking through, key pieces of information that will allow me to make better educated decisions on where to invest and invest my investors' money that I work with right now, where now it's like, I know, like, I feel good when I fall asleep, when I go to bed at night, like, I feel good knowing that we're making very, very smart decisions to invest in certain locations, because it's very hard to lose money when certain trends are moving in the right direction. I love articles like this because I'm an information geek.
Yeah. And I think that it's important, in particular, as you start working with, investors and are starting to raise capital to do some deals. And I'm sure there's going to be people on the call that do in fact do that. These individuals are going to be relying on you to make decisions on behalf of them. So making sure that you're aware of what's going on in the marketplace, so you can make educated decisions and ultimately be able to achieve success for the clients. That's what you need to do. I think that's a fiduciary responsibility for sure. All right. So next up is FHFA boosts LIHTC caps to $1 billion for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. This is another one of my articles, and then we'll hop over back to Henry's as well. But this essentially what was announced is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac has been allowed to invest up to $1 billion in low-income housing tax credit projects beginning in 2024. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with low-income housing tax credits, it allows for developers to access, essentially credits to offset the cost of some of these developments. However, you have to meet certain criteria. Oftentimes, it has to do with the percentage of the amount of units within the property that are below a certain threshold as far as income is concerned. So they have to be able to be afforded by people who are a certain threshold. And again, this is locked in for a period of time, typically 30 to 40 years. And so it talks a little bit about the history of the program, and how previously the cap was $850 million, but now it's bumped up to $1 billion. This is more so just to make some of these opportunities come to market, because a lot of these projects, if they were to deliver product at the rate that they're charging, it would not make economic sense. And so the hope is that by utilizing some of these programs and offering some of these incentives to developers, that they will be able to deliver more affordable housing product to market, which, again, we all know that there's an affordable housing crisis in the United States. And really it's around the world, not just the United States, but it's definitely significant in the United States. And so hopefully more and more of these programs, more of these incentives could potentially help alleviate some of the burden that we've faced with affordable housing. So don't know what your thoughts are on this, Henry.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've seen this a lot where markets, like, economically, there's a huge demand for affordable housing, and there's just so much overpriced product going on in the marketplaces because every single investor wants to make great returns. So why on planet Earth, like, what is the benefit for an investor to charge less money on an apartment complex? What's the benefit? And if they have no benefit, they're probably not going to do it. I mean, it's just simple capitalistic mentality, right? It makes sense. So I think that these are always very smart ideas for the banks to be giving up tax. I mean, you either got to give them, you got to give them something, right? To incentivize an investor to spend all the money, energy, and effort to have below average returns. But obviously half the game is, saving money on expenses. So if you can give off more tax credits like this, I think you're going to be able to open up more opportunities for more affordable housing. I'm looking into a lot of Section 8 deals right now because, there's a lot of opportunity in Section 8 as well. I mean, same kind of concepts. So I think these are really, really smart opportunities.
Yeah, 100%. And again, it's incentives. As we've talked about in previous episodes, some projects just don't make economic sense. So if you want, as a government entity, if you want certain things to occur, you have to incentivize good behavior. And in order to do that, some of the best ways to do that is to provide grants, to provide credits, to provide abatements, to provide, all these different tools at your disposal to be able to ensure that these types of projects do come available. So it's good to see that, these entities are taking the job seriously, and hopefully we can see more product come to market that's hopefully going to benefit the population as a whole. So, all right. So next up is existing home sales rise. Consumers end year with higher confidence, and mortgage applications edge lower.
This is what a lot of people have been wondering, like what is going to happen with the real estate market per se, right? And existing home sales are increasing, which means there was a period of time where we had which we still have very low historically, the lowest realistically, home sale trends we've seen in a very, very, very long time. However, it is positive news. It is nice to see, it's exciting to see that we're starting to see more existing home sales increase. I think that this is good information. This is exciting news for next year for a lot of brokers that are listening. Again, we want to see more optimism in the markets. We like seeing this. And obviously with the rates starting to tick down, I think that we will consider, I think 2024 will be a very, very good year for the residential market as well. But this is nice to just see consumer confidence overall be, going in a positive direction.
Residential is kind of a leading indicator. Commercial real estate tends to lag a little bit. As you start seeing, these positive trends in the residential market, a lot of times it does bode well for the commercial market as well. So again, as you start seeing this type of optimistic news coming out, hopefully it does lead to more positivity and more transactions in 2024, which I'm a big believer in. I think it's going to be a very good year for those individuals who get out there and make opportunities happen. So
we always get excited about seeing interest rates tick lower. I think actually, we should see some pretty good positivity in the next coming quarter or two.
All right. So next up is an actual resource that I thought a lot of people would gain some value from. It's this newsletter called CRE Daily. So every day, I think they're maybe on the weekends, they don't do it, but every day they send out really cool articles on the commercial real estate landscape. And they talk about a variety of different trends that are happening in the commercial real estate space. I review the newsletter almost every day because they link to a variety of different articles as well. So if you guys are looking for a resource to be able to get more up to date, and you don't necessarily want to go out there and try to find all these different articles and, see all these different, navigate to a variety of different places to find this information, this can be kind of your quick 5 to 10 minute scan of what's going on in the marketplace. And, at that point, you'll be much more educated, and you can utilize a lot of this information that you gather from this newsletter to, educate your clients and hopefully generate more business for yourself as well. So
you have to be intentional about learning. You have to be intentional about trying to find these articles. I would try to take 5 to 15 minutes a day, every day, to try to go through news articles and stay up to date with what's going on, because you should not be trying to wait for your information. And don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you to go on YouTube or Facebook, Instagram and bullshit to try to find your news. Okay. I'm not saying go to, wait for CBS or fucking Fox or whatever, all this bullshit that we hear from the media. I'm not saying wait for that. I'm saying, guys, go out of the way, look up the reputable places like CoStar News, or, again, you've done a number of different articles from places like, again, CRE Daily, you've got, the Globe, you've done there's a lot of different places where
BizNow's good.
BizNow.
Yeah,
exactly. Go out of your way and look at some of these articles and start to learn and start doing some homework and looking up the population growth. Do your own due diligence on interest rates. Do your own due diligence on, the economic trends of your local marketplace. You need to become the expert, right? And this is what we like to spend a lot of time on. I love reading news articles. I know Raphael's the same. So anyways, I just think it's really important for us to take advantage of this kind of information that's right in front of us.
Absolutely. And just as a quick plug as well, I would highly encourage you guys to subscribe to your local business journal. It's a wealth of information. It's, you know, I subscribe to our local Louisville Business First journal, business journal. I'm sure Miami has its own, but I would strongly encourage you to do that, because I can't tell you how many times I've reviewed the local business journal and then saw some information about businesses moving to market, or you know, this restaurant is moving in this space, or you know, this person is shutting down this operation and they're probably looking to consolidate. It could be a source for leads for you as well. So I would highly encourage you guys to subscribe to your local business journals so you can stay up to date about what's going on. And they regularly release publications. It's regularly updated, especially if you're in a decent sized market. You'll have content continuously. So it's a really good resource that I would highly encourage you guys to try to take advantage of. All right, so next up is public markets imply a 160 basis point rise in cap rates.
Yeah, it is about freaking time, baby. Yeah, this is obviously some good news for us. I mean, we're obviously excited to start seeing some movement in the markets. You know, for me, I'm a investment sales specialist. Like, we find off-market value-add opportunities. That's our niche, and it's really awesome to see this, because it takes time, people, right? Like, it takes time for sellers to come around to the right numbers, right? It takes time for people to really understand what's going on in the markets and to become more and more motivated, right? If hypothetically, a year ago, 2 years, let's just say that you own a property, you own a 10 unit, a freaking 100,000 square foot warehouse, retail center, whatever. You own a commercial property in a great location. 2 years ago, okay, in 2021, somebody calls you up and offers you $20 million or something ridiculous. And you're like, holy cow, I could sell this property for what? I don't really, I'd love the money, but like, where am I, maybe you occupy the business or whatever. And you're like, I don't know where I'd go. Now you have this number of $20 million in your head, this crazy number that somebody offered you because interest rates 2%. So you have this number in your head, like 20 million. Okay, cool. I can get 20 million for my 100,000 square foot, warehouse building that I occupy myself or whatever. So, okay, well, hypothetically, 12 months later, 15 months later, 18 months later, now all of a sudden interest rates are 8%, and you're getting a phone call from another broker and goes like, oh, hey, might have a buyer for you. They're looking to pay 10 million. 10 million. Dude, I just got offered 20 million bucks. What are you talking about? You're out of your mind, idiot. Like, thinking this broker has no idea what they're talking about. And then all of a sudden, guess what? You get another phone call, 10 million. Another phone call, 10 million. Another phone call, 9 million. Another phone call, 10 million. You're like, wait a second. I guess my building's really not worth 20 million anymore, right? And it takes a little bit of time for them to realize that. And it's important to know that, like, stickability, longevity pays off massively in these types of industries, where people most of the time just get frustrated. They get frustrated because they're like, why aren't I doing, why are these people not selling? It's like, because you have 3 opportunities when you should have 300.
And I think, like you said, it is a lag indicator. Commercial real estate tends to move very slowly. And I think sellers are starting to realize that, things are changing. You can no longer get what you got 2 to 3 years ago when interest rates were 3%, 4%. And, we've been telling them this for probably the last 12 to 18 months. But again, it's just taken a little while to actually, get into their heads. And that's why education is so important, in my opinion. This is why you should be constantly getting out there when you're talking to potential clients, when you're talking to people who are your buyers, sellers, whatever that is you have to come from a standpoint of educating and always be up to date on your information. That's why it's so crucial to understand your local market dynamics, so that you become kind of that go-to resource in your marketplace. And over time, they'll start to trust with what you're trying to say. And and then eventually, if let's say that the market is shifting and you've been their go-to resource for a year or two, then at that point you could say, look, the market has shifted, and they'll actually believe you, versus now where we're having to, kind of pull teeth to have people trust us enough to be able to sell the property. So the next up article is going to be, how could ChatGPT affects the commercial real estate industry? So if you guys haven't had a chance to play around with the platform yet, it is a super powerful platform. Essentially, ChatGPT, as many of you know, is a large language model, and it allows you to do a variety of different things. It used to be primarily text-based with ChatGPT 3.5, but with ChatGPT 4, now they've integrated the DALL-E extension, which allows you to generate images as well. And I'm sure in the future there'll be even more technology that comes available. But as far as, the way that it can actually help you is for a variety of different ways. In this little article, that they highlight some of the ways that it can. It talks a lot about, summarization. So like, let's say you have a really long article that you may or may not necessarily have time to read. You could throw it into ChatGPT, say, hey, give me a 200-word summary, and it'll give you the summary of the article and the main points of the article. Translation is obviously a very powerful tool as well. I work a lot with Spanish-speaking clients. I myself speak Spanish, and so sometimes, let's say you need to translate something on the fly, and maybe you're not writing, your writing is not up to par as far as Spanish is concerned, then maybe you can translate it into Spanish language utilizing ChatGPT. I use it a lot for different blog articles, so you can leverage the platform to be able to write keywords-rich, dense articles because by prompting it properly. As far as the limitations of ChatGPT, obviously it's a language model that is continually learning. So there's a lot of things that come up that may not be the way it's supposed to be. So it talks a lot about, inability to do certain tasks and understand context. And sometimes there's bias involved because obviously it's only as good as the data that's inputted in it. So if that data for some reason has bias, so is ChatGPT is also going to have that. And that's why right now they're trying to limit the amount of data that it's actually inputted, and they don't put it on the internet because then it opens up the floodgate to those potential issues that arise. And then, it talks a little bit about, is this going to affect the commercial real estate broker as far as the future is concerned? In my opinion, I don't think so. If you yourself are truly a expert at what you do, I think ChatGPT is going to augment your ability to deliver even better service to your clients. And so it talks a lot about some of the ways that you can do so. And hopefully over time, that can help your business grow and succeed as well. So those are just some of the high level ideas that I got from the article. Obviously, this is a much longer article that this gentleman really just, all he took was just writing these questions, and then ChatGPT spit out these answers. So kind of goes to show what you can do as far as creating blog posts, right? He didn't really even write this article, it looks like. So
yeah, I've been using also a lot of ChatGPT for I'll take data sets and I'll input it into ChatGPT 4, and it'll allow me to organize the data in any which way I want. It's been very, very helpful for, kind of looking at data sets differently and organizing information the right way. So I just think that's, it's a super useful software. I mean, you can literally import Excel spreadsheets and you can tell them to, to organize the data in whatever way that you'd like, as well as you can even give it data sets and then like from a Microsoft Word document or information from a Microsoft Word document, and then tell it to put it into Excel documents organized by X, Y, Z. It's a very, very helpful software when it comes to looking through data and what talking points are most important. So huge fan of it. Definitely been using it a lot more frequently recently. Definitely probably should be using it more frequently with a lot of the marketing things that we do with my company, but super helpful. And obviously if you're not using ChatGPT, I think you should go to ChatGPT right now and just say, how can I utilize this better as a commercial real estate broker? And it probably will give you a bunch of options for you.
Yeah, and just play around with it. I mean, that's half the battle. I mean, there's a free version. I pay for the pro version or whatever the equivalent is, because I see the value, and I've been able to play around with not only ChatGPT 4 with the DALL-E extension. Like you could look up, like you said, you could upload like a CSV file and even prompt it to give you a chart, because now you have the ability to generate images using ChatGPT, which is really cool.
Love it.
So and there's ChatGPT Playground. There's a lot of different factors that you can play around with, but just some of the things that you can think about doing as far as your business is concerned. So, all right. So what to watch in 2024? Office occupancy likely to decline further.
Yeah. So if you scroll down here, I mean, there's just a bunch of different information that I really like. This one here, this is a good one. It just shows as per different locations, how the office market has been adjusting since 2019. Really interesting to be paying attention to this kind of stuff. So it's like, again, if you're in the office market in San Francisco, obviously we know what's going on in San Francisco. It's definitely not good. San Francisco's getting crushed. You look at markets like Denver, New York, Los Angeles, Orange County. I mean, a lot of Cali getting affected. But there's also interesting how it's just like the Miami market, super hot. How the Austin market, just because there's also a lot of development going on in these two these two markets here. But I think it's just interesting. Like, this is why, again, we like to focus on this type of data. Like, if you're in the office world, why would you not just focus on where market, the office space is absolutely dominating? Because and obviously it's not crushing it like other asset classes, but if you're in the leasing market, if you're in the leasing world and an office, I just randomly met this guy who is in the office leasing game in Ohio, and nice guy. And we were chatting for a little bit. And he's like, yeah, I've been able to get the best deals in the world for my tenants, obviously, because the office market is terrible right now. So it's just it's interesting. It's just okay, well, that means his average commission check is going down. I want my average commission check to be going up on average every year. My average commission percent and my average commission check to go up every single year. And that's very hard to do when my local market that I quote unquote sell in is declining faster than I even can prospect for. It's just something to keep in mind that like why, like if you're in the office market and like even if it's in California, if you're in the California markets, why would you focus on San Francisco? You could live in San Francisco, but why would you focus on the San Francisco office market when hypothetically you could be looking in San Diego or San Jose where the market's doing not as terrible? Be honest, like you could move, you can adjust, you can adapt, right? Like you don't just have to prospect your backyard. This is just a constant thing that I'm paying attention to as to like what markets should I actually be focused on versus what markets do I live in.
Well, what's surprising me about this article is if you look at the total U.S. decline in office, it's only dropped a couple percent. It hasn't, you would imagine that, given the way that people have been describing what's been happening, that it would be closer to what San Francisco's experiencing, but it doesn't seem to really be the case. So
yeah. I agree. You could scroll down here too. Yeah, exactly. Right there. Yeah. So currently, our current forecast calls for more than 100 million additional square feet of negative absorption in 2024. So yeah, I mean, like it just goes to show that there's, we're not out of the woods yet with it, but it's also knowing that like there are some certain markets that are still doing okay versus doing terribly.
No, 100%. And it kind of lends itself to the opportunity potentially in the future for office investments. So, who knows if you look back in the next 12 to 24 months and we're like, oh, wow, this was kind of a prime opportunity potentially to start looking at some of these, options to be able to purchase, in particular in some of these markets where, like you had said, there is still some absorption. So if you found like a pretty good located office building in Miami, for example, or in Austin or some of these other markets, maybe it is a good opportunity to look into, especially if you can repurpose it for like a medical use or a laboratory. That's a big one in Pennsylvania.
Data centers.
There's definitely unique opportunity there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We greatly appreciate you guys tuning in every single week. Again, we wish you guys a phenomenal 2024. I think it will be a really great year.